The fluorescent lights flickered, seeming to make the already dull, stained walls and gray-tiled floors even more dreary as the officer led me down the hallway out of the main prison building. She said something, but I didn't really listen. In any case, I already knew the point. The receptionist handed me my personal belongings, and I checked them. Handbag, keys, pen, phone. He chuckled discreetly, then looked at the officer. I'd probably rather keep it all. It'll speed up the process when she gets back. I signed all the documents in silence and waited for the officer to escort me outside. She nodded, and the clerk opened the bulletproof glass doors. The sunset sunlight warmed my face, but it no longer had the same meaning. I didn't even need to look back. A bicycle courier stood right at the bottom of the stairs, lazily unfastening a long cardboard box from the back of his bicycle. I walked towards him. The officer shook her head. Crap. The delivery guy raised an eyebrow and smiled, then opened the box. I looked inside and first took out an envelope. No note, as always. Just $1,000 in cash. This was no longer a surprise. The other item was a piece of art. I took it out and picked it up. C-271 cherry bomb. It literally glowed with a gorgeous glossy black and cherry finish with gold decals. Someone went to the trouble of putting a very professional black lizard skin wrap on the handle. The wrap went a little further along the almost perfect maple than I would have done myself, and I always used a P-72 when I played as a teenager, but I picked up the Louisville Slugger bat and let it spin in my hand. She was fucking perfect. And so I always thought that the phrase, "my heart began to sing," was too melodramatic. My heart was definitely singing. The officer looked at the baseball bat in disbelief, then shook her head again. Damn it. The courier smiled widely. I'll take the box. We don't need you getting arrested for littering before the fun starts. The officer looked after him, then turned to me and looked at the bat again. Who would do this? I looked straight at him. One who understands. My phone rang and I looked at it. One text message from a blocked number. It simply stated the name of the nightclub and the time. 9 p.m. Enough to do your makeup and hair. I smiled and picked up my beautiful, beautiful bat. Run, bastard, run. 7 days ago. I shifted from foot to foot, avoiding the accidental hand touch from the nasty old man. It's not like I couldn't see it a mile away. A flicker of disappointment from missing the touch on his chest showed on his face, and I gave him my practiced plastic smile. Thank you for flying with Eric Spance. My legs, feet, and back were looking forward to a hot shower, a long night in bed, and maybe I could talk Justin into giving me a real back massage without ulterior motives. But Justin didn't come to meet me like he should have. An annoyed call to his phone ended with his voicemail. I waited at least 20 minutes for him to call back before I headed to the taxi rank. Okay, 15 minutes. But my back and legs were killing me. As a personal fitness trainer, Justin sometimes had unexpected changes in his schedule, so waiting could be a bad idea. My house was only 15 minutes away, so there was no point in making Justin drive that far when I could be home before he got to the airport. By the time I reached the front door, I was fuming again. Justin's bright red Charger was parked in the driveway, and I could hear the Bose speakers blaring before I even got to the house. He just forgot again. This was becoming a problem. Work was one thing, but Justin seemed to be doing less and less work lately. He spent a lot more time playing video games and playing the damn vintage acoustic guitar he'd spent 3 months of his salary on. This was another problem that was becoming the norm. Lately, my salary was going toward everything he needed, but the money he brought in seemed to go towards what he needed. I even co-signed a loan for his damn expensive Charger because his credit was bad, and self-employed personal fitness trainer and part-time bartender didn't make the loan officers happy. I wasn't as angry as I should have been, but that changed a moment later. Even after seeing the scattered clothes, including a pair of pink Spank Me panties that I never owned, lying on top of a pair of Justin's boxers, I was still hopeful. Well, hope is too strong a word, but it's in the right direction. but I still found them on my bed in my house. They didn't hear me come in, which wasn't surprising. Eminem was screaming something about vomit on shoelaces as high as a jet engine, and the house smelled of beer and substances. A small part of my mind was angry about the substances. I could lose my job if the test showed substances, and after one close call with a special pie Justin brought home, I told him straight up that he couldn't bring it into the house again because if I lost my job, we won't have a home. A big part of my mind told that little part to shut up and stop being a whiner, because we had bigger problems than Justin having sex with a chubby, banana blonde on the hand quilted double wedding quilt my great-grandmother made for me before she died. It took all my self-control to grab the remote for the stereo and turn off the sound. The sudden silence rang in my ears as I waited for them to realize what was happening. The woman's dull face slowly rose over Justin's shoulder and stared at me blankly for a long moment. She giggled stupidly. "Dude, I think it's your wife." He turned halfway without taking his eyes off her and looked at me. "Oh, hi, Ashley." He paused, trying to decide what to say next. But I did use all my self-control to grab the stereo remote. Ending a 20-hour day on throbbing legs with an aching back, being left at the airport, and then finding my hubby child having sex with Spice Girl and more or less expecting me to join them in sex was really too much. "You fucking bastard." I grabbed the first thing I could reach and prepared to strike. Justin finally seemed to realize how bad it was, jumping over the bed and leaving the girl lying there in shock, staring at me. In this rage, I could have actually killed him, so it was probably my luck that the guitar strings got tangled in the dangling lamp while swinging, although it didn't seem like luck to me at all. I shouted something that I didn't even understand, tried to snatch the guitar, and ended up pulling out the entire lamp. I screamed in anger and started slamming the guitar on the floor, trying to free it. The pig crawled past me with such a speed that I did not expect to see a person on all fours. Her pale white ass shook disgustingly, like a huge load of jelly. This is fucking Florida. Who in Florida can be so pale? No. Justin rushed towards me as soon as everything fell away, and I swung as hard as I could. A very disappointing thud, followed by Justin screaming, "Damn it," was the only result. All that was left was the guitar's broken neck. The body was broken into pieces on the floor. Justin stepped toward me, holding his forearm, looking at the wreckage. "My guitar." He was still looking down in tragic despair when I hit him with everything that could muster my 115 pounds. He collapsed, holding his eye, and I kicked him twice in the ribs before a very loud but strangely calm voice caught my attention. "Don't make me use the taser." I turned and looked at the officer in the bedroom doorway, pointing a taser at me. I froze, wondering if I could land one more punch on Justin before he hit me. "Don't. Tasers hurt like hell, and then I have to fill out all this paperwork and add resisting an officer to the charges." Through the doorway behind him, I saw a fat-bottomed banana head beach frantically talking and crying to a female officer who seemed rather indifferent to her tale of woes. It dawned on me that I had never seen "My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic" tattooed on my thigh before. I frowned at Justin. "Bastard." And she walked away. The officer sighed. "Good choice. Face the wall, hands behind your back, clasped together as if you were praying." I felt the handcuffs snap shut. "How the hell did you get here so fast?" We were literally driving down the street when Miss Fat Naked ran out in front of us. "I'm guessing you're the wife or girlfriend." I was. "Did you come home early?" "Actually, I came home right on time, like never before." Advice from someone who deals with this all the time. It's not worth it. This isn't the first time I've dealt with something like this. Trust me. When you get out, take what you need and just go. It will be easier for you, easier for us. Justin rolled over to sit up and looked sadly at the pieces of his damn guitar. He looked at the officer. "She should buy me a new guitar." "It's not my problem. It's a civil issue. File it in a small lawsuit." The officer clearly had no sympathy for Justin. I was seething with anger while I was being booked into prison. I wanted to listen to the officer. He said reasonable things. Leave. Just leave. But when they took my mugshot for the police file, all I felt was seething rage. I sat with my back against the wall of the cell, without taking my eyes off the door. Without sleep. The other women on the block looked at me strangely and stayed away. I focused on the officer's words, just leave. I could do it. He could keep the damn car, have any damn furniture he wanted, stupid video games, and a collection of beer-making equipment that he absolutely needed but didn't even use. I'll just move out of the house and stay at a local flight attendant hostel for a few days until I find somewhere to live. The rest of the crew might be understanding about such things. I'm definitely not the first flight attendant to go through a divorce. I'll make it easy. My decision at 3 o'clock in the morning lasted exactly 4 hours and 22 minutes. In the morning, I was informed that I was being charged with domestic violence, that a court date would be set, then handed a vague copy of a page of instructions, and finally, released on my own responsibility. I turned on my phone as I left the building, but I received the same available for emergency calls only message that I usually received in areas with low signal strength. I was halfway down the stairs when it dawned on me that the prison was almost in the center of the city. My phone showed 5 signal bars, but I couldn't make calls. I headed to the ATM with an unpleasant feeling. I wasn't particularly surprised when I discovered that my bank account was closed. I closed my eyes and suppressed my anger for a moment. If Justin closed the account, he probably also emptied his savings account. That savings account that he never deposited a cent into. That savings account, which I first filled with money my grandmother left me, then carefully managed and regularly replenished for the time when we had children. A savings account that I added Justin to so he could manage the finances in case of an emergency, like if I was in the hospital. I turned around and practically ran to the nearest branch of my bank since it was only a few blocks away. Andrea, the assistant bank manager, was polite, calm, and couldn't help me in any way. I lost over $150,000. This son of a bitch had completely devastated him. It was mean-spirited, malicious, and, according to Andrea, completely legal. She at least let me use the office phone to confirm that my cell phone was switched off. I went outside again and just stood there for a while. I didn't know what to do. I was just lost. I started walking. It was Florida, and of course it started to rain. I didn't make a conscious decision, I just walked. So it must have been fate. I ended up having lost one of my shoes somewhere along the way in front of the gym where Justin worked. Directly in front of him was a bright red Charger with the license plate Justin 88. I looked at the gym door. If I run into Justin at work, he'll just hide in the men's locker room or run out the back door or something. God, if only there was a way to get him to come out and talk to me. The construction site across the street from the gym was bustling with activity, and at first they paid no attention to me. But a woman in a short blue skirt and white blouse, which was missing buttons and was almost transparent from the rain, would attract the attention of the construction workers. The whistles sounded a couple of times, but they died down upon noticing my missing shoe and the expression on my face. A large guy who seemed to be in charge approached me. "Do you need help?" "No, I just need to borrow this." I pulled a cinder block out of the pile and held it. Son of a bitch cheating on me. He nodded and took a step back with a slight smile. I was halfway across the street when I realized that most of the construction workers were following me. They stood solemnly as I lifted the block over my head and dropped it onto the hood with a loud thud. This set off an alarm and caused a wave of groans and applause from the workers. I did this 4 more times, his alarm music blaring, before people started pouring out of the gym. They were probably going to stop me, but they froze when they saw the wall of construction workers behind me. Justin rushed forward and froze, staring at me with wide eyes. I lifted the block again. "Where's my grandma's money, you fucking bastard?" He looked despairingly, first at me, then at the car. Listen, honey, we need. A cinder block flew into the windshield. It didn't break the way I wanted, but it looked cool and stuck halfway. Don't dare call me, darling, you piece of shit. Cheating on me in our damn bed, steal the money my grandmother left me, and you think you can call me darling. The sound of a police siren interrupted me. The officer was already taking out the handcuffs when he got out of the car, so I sighed, turned towards the car, and clasped my hands behind my back. As he handcuffed me, he surveyed the destruction, then looked at the construction workers. She stole this block from your site? The big guy pursed his lips and shook his head. No, must have just been lying around here or something. There's red paint on it, see? We don't have red paint blocks, right, guys? The officer chuckled at the hearty chorus of agreement from the crowd, but that didn't stop him from putting me in the back seat of his patrol car. I was accused of public disorderly conduct, destruction of private property, vandalism, and littering. The officer said it would probably cost me 60 days just to cool off. But it didn't work out. Late the next day, a concerned officer escorted me out. Your lawyer is here. It looks like you have a loan on that car, and there's no law against breaking your own stuff unless you file a false report about it. Public disorderly conduct is a night arrest, and a littering charge will be removed, so you are free again. My lawyer? Yeah, cute blonde with short hair. About. I assumed she was probably from the public defender's office. I wasn't sure how it worked, but now I was really broke. It would be nice if she talked to me so I know what's going on, but they probably don't have much time. I signed the documents and automatically turned on the phone. I was just about to kick myself for turning it on when it vibrated with an incoming text message from a blocked number. The delivery man sat patiently on his bicycle right at the foot of the stairs, holding a shoebox-sized box in his hands. He held it out, and I looked at him suspiciously. Who is this from? I don't know, maybe from one of your fans. In the box was an envelope with $500 in brand new bills and one of those old red bricks. I examined the brick and turned it over to see the words Copper County Municipal neatly etched into it. No note, nothing. You have no idea who sent this? Are you sure it's for me? He smiled and showed me his phone. This was news. One of those funny little stories you read to pass the time. Under the headline, Turbulence Ahead, there was a news story with my photo on it. You're a meme, lady. You're everywhere on the internet. Everyone knows who you are. I looked at my photograph for a long time. A suppressed half-laugh, a crazy look from the ex-girlfriend. Crap. Even I thought I had lost my mind. So much for my work. Since I didn't know what else to do with it, I put the brick in my purse. I needed to take a breath. I needed to think. I needed to get myself in order. Money will help, no matter where it comes from. Maybe a nice night in a hotel instead of a hostel, so I can have some privacy and time to soak in the bath. Change of clothes. I could have gone to the store, but it was getting late. Plus, I had all the necessary clothes at home. My Uber app worked great. The Uber driver kept looking at me in the rearview mirror. Then I realized that he was looking at his phone. I Googled my name on my strangely working phone. Crap, I've been everywhere. It must have been a slow news day because my picture was on every news site. Many of them featured a phone photo of me standing next to the charger, holding a cinder block over my head like some crazy avenging angel. He realized that I had noticed and began to speak. You. Yes, it's me. Cool, he slowly trailed off. So, this address. My home. I just need to get my clothes. He nodded like a dummy, smiling. This is so cool. I've never met anyone famous. Fortunately, he refrained from asking further questions. The house was lit up like a Christmas tree, and the music was blasting, but the charger was nowhere to be seen. Justin had a habit of leaving everything on, probably because I was paying the electricity bill. At least I didn't have to worry about the drama. I nodded to the driver. Wait here, I'll be back soon, and you can take me to the Divinity Hotel on 19th Street. No problem. He started typing on his phone, and from the guilty posture of his shoulders, I was almost sure that it was about me. To hell with it. If meeting me was the highlight of his day, he was having a boring day. I shook my head as I walked towards the house. I pulled out my keys, which took longer than usual because I had a damn brick of them in my purse. I couldn't put the key in the lock. Damn, I'm so tired. Couldn't anything possibly go right? I picked up the keys and looked at them to make sure I was using the right one. Then I tried again. No. I took a closer look and then looked at the castle. It was new. Not even the same brand as my key. I looked out the window. The furniture is the same. The stereo is the same. This son of a bitch. He changed the damn locks to keep me out of the house I pay rent for. I knocked on the door, my overloaded purse slamming against my side. Nothing. No movement. I pulled the brick out of my purse and examined it. Edith Johansson, the lady of the house, will understand. I'll just call her and let her know. Of course, I left a voicemail because she never answered business calls after office hours. Edith, you probably saw what happened on the news. Everyone else did. Look, I need to get into the house and get my clothes before Justin comes back and causes drama. So I'll pay for the window and the light fixture too. Sorry. For everything. Oh yes, it's Ashley. Conscience calmed, I removed the screen from the living room window. Maybe I can make a small hole big enough to reach through and open it. I tapped the brick as softly as possible. The entire window fell into pieces. I was sure it was some kind of God-sent analogy for my life, but whatever it meant, it wasn't on the list of things I needed to figure out. I moved the frame, lifted it, and carefully used the brick to clear the glass from the windowsill before climbing inside. For a moment, I stood in the living room and thought about the missing money. If Justin took them all, he would hide them somewhere. I thought about starting my search, maybe with a freezer, but I decided that no one could be that stupid. I just needed to get my things. The damn stereo was blaring. The room was dark because there was no light, and I tripped over something. I sighed and turned off the damn stereo. I felt a sinking feeling as I heard an urgent whisper from the closed bathroom door. Come on, hurry up. She's in the house. She's in the damn bedroom. I looked down at the lime green thong wrapped around my bare leg. I stood next to Justin's metallic orange skirt and boxers and jeans. I didn't have time to throw the brick before I got tasered. Don't let anyone tell you that stun guns don't hurt like hell. In case you were wondering, it feels like you are a puppet whose strings have been cut, while you have cramps all over your body at the same time. After the officer handcuffed me, I was able to glare at him. I thought you should have said something like freeze before you did that. I tried to ignore Justin and the skinny green-haired bitch who crawled out of the bathroom with him. It didn't last long. I have a restraining order on her because of what she did to my car. She's fucking crazy. You need to keep her locked up. Justin tried to cover himself with a towel, and the woman appeared to be forced to use her hands. The officer shook his head. You really need to stay away from him and his girlfriend. Which one? Which one is which? Which girlfriend? The fat one with the My Little Pony tattoos, or this meth bitch with the It Won't Spank Itself tattoo on her lower back? He turned and looked, holding back his laughter at the sight. Any of them. All of them. I really need to go to the clinic to get tested for STDs. You really need to stay out of jail for at least a couple of days to do this. He lowered his voice, looking at her thin green hair. Seriously, getting tested might be a good idea. Justin double-checked the handcuffs were in place before taking a step closer. Where's my car, bitch? Go to hell. I was in jail until an hour ago, so whatever happened, it wasn't me. Bastard. The officer firmly moved us away from each other. Let's not do this now. Justin looked at me angrily. You should arrest her for car theft. She stole my damn car. Did you report this? Well, no, but then how the hell can I arrest her for this? The other women in the prison cell stayed as far away from me as possible all night, and I ignored their whispers. When the officer took me out in the morning, one of them shouted, "Go and get him." The officer looked around wearily, then looked at me. "Please do not. Look, they're letting you out, okay? Your lawyer, Blonde Tornado, showed up here early this morning. She threatened police brutality charges for the taser incident. Your mistress confirms your story that you tried to get in and out without seeing your husband. She even provided a recording. There is no restraining order because the request was based on the fact that you allegedly destroyed his car, and it turns out that the car is registered in your name. And again, there is no law against doing this. Just remember that you have a domestic violence charge pending, so if they're filed, they have a good chance of getting a restraining order. I really should have called the public defender's office. It seemed like my court-appointed attorney was going beyond his duties. Do you have the number for the public defender's office? He looked completely puzzled. For what? So I can call my lawyer. She's a public defender, right? I've been here for 10 years. I know all the public defenders, and she's not one of them. Hell, your lawyer wears suits that cost half a year's salary for a public defender. I fell silent. I had no idea if it was legal for someone to hire a lawyer for me without my knowledge. Whoever it was kept getting me out of jail, so it was best to keep quiet. He looked at me suspiciously, but ignored it. The courier on a bicycle waited, smiling from ear to ear. This time it was a small box. $1,000, a key card for a Hollywood suite room in the most expensive hotel in the city with a receipt for 2 weeks advance payment, and the charger key, wherever that is. I thought it over, and this time I took an Uber straight to the hotel. Over the next 4 days, I came to my senses. I didn't have any clothes, but the hotel's silk robe was quite adequate, and the hotel's restaurants provided incredible room service. I watched bad movies, drank too many daiquiris from the hotel bar, and actually slept. A letter arrived from my lawyer informing me that my divorce had been filed and Justin had been served with notice. I was surprised by this because I had never met with a lawyer or filled out any paperwork, but I should have, so I wasn't going to argue. I also had time to look through the news and memes I had managed to create. "Turbulence ahead" was one of the less sensational headlines. "Fasten your seat belts" was accompanied by a cell phone photo of me with a piece of concrete, and apparently my friendly Uber driver took some pictures of me breaking into my own home, with brick. To complete the picture, under the heading "Ruthless," there was a charming photo of me standing in my living room with a brick in my hand. I looked, well, unbalanced would be putting it mildly, but maniacally homicidal was quite appropriate. It really explained why the other women in prison treated me like a grenade with the pin pulled. The phone call confirmed that my employment with Eric Spance was temporarily suspended, pending the outcome of the domestic violence charge. On the 4th day, I received a message from the reception. My car was ready and waiting for me at Hell's Auto Repair. The hotel's limousine service was at my disposal, of course. The message went with a black and dark red suit with cute but practical low heels. I've been thinking about this for a while. Whoever was helping me clearly had their own plan, but damn, they protected me until now. The man at the car service greeted me with a wide smile when I showed up. To be honest, I was worried if we could finish it on time, but everything worked out great. Your lawyer came and brought new numbers this morning after she paid the bill. It would be great if we could take some pictures of you with the car. That would be great for clients who are wondering if we can capture their essence. You know what I mean? I'm not sure I'm the best choice for advertising. He laughed. You are suitable for those people who like this kind of individual work. They love bad girls. Instead of the garage, he took me to the showroom. It was, of course, a Charger, but it had been repaired. The word renovated doesn't even fit. The damage I caused has been repaired, but much more has been done. Darkened headlights and taillights, tinted windows. The hot red paint was gone, replaced by a black metallic cherry so perfect it looked like you could fall into it. Beautiful, isn't it? Damn, I hate letting her out of the showroom. We detailed the entire car, made minor engine adjustments to get the most power out of that Hellcat engine, and added a cherry bomb extreme exhaust system. They will hear you from afar. Technically, it's legal, but barely. If anyone gives you problems, let them call us. We checked this with the inspector. I walked around the car and looked at the license plate. The Justin 88 number has disappeared, replaced by the B4D GRL number. Bad girl. When I left, I couldn't help but laugh. It took me a moment to understand, but for his photographs, he sat me down, very ladylike, on a pile of bricks next to the car. The loud roar of the engine was absolute music. If I knew who my lawyer was, I could call her and ask her how to gain access to the house. Anyway, I drove by, looking around carefully to see if there were any signs that Justin wasn't home. There weren't any. But in the middle of a large fire patch in the front yard, there was a smoldering fire. I stopped. A snake-like object protruding from the burnt area caught my attention. I tried to convince myself that I was wrong. He can't be that stupid. I stopped, saying surprisingly undignified things under my breath. He wouldn't. I slowly walked out and approached him. When I got close enough to be sure, my unworthy litany was no longer under my nose. It was now quite loud and directed at Justin. The purse strap was the only thing left from one of my favorite bags. There were enough leftovers for me to believe that the bastard had burned every piece of my clothing, along with my bags and shoes. I could even make out the remains of my hair dryer and makeup bag. I looked at the house. Justin, son. The rake was lying on the ground next to the sidewalk, and I picked it up to try to save something, but it was no use. The sound of a police siren caught my attention, and I turned to see a police car approaching. The officer came out wearily, speaking into his radio. He shook his head. Come on, turn around. Why am I being arrested this time? I was already turning around and folding my hands behind my back. We've already seen this. You can't burn your husband's things in the yard, even if he's a complete bastard. I started to argue, but decided that I knew the order. As soon as they take me to the station, I will be able to testify, then they will sort it out. But their first priority was not my convenience or even fairness. Their goal was to make sure that whatever was happening, it didn't escalate into something more. Trying to argue now will only make things worse. Can someone move my car? I don't want to leave her here. I see that you don't want to. Someone might throw a brick or something else at the window. With your permission, I can ask someone to move it. He looked at her. They will probably argue about who will do it. Where do you want her to be taken? I thought about it for a second. Hell of a car service. Tell them I'll be back for her. He laughed as if he didn't believe me. Another night staring at the cell door. The women who had been there for a while warned the new guys to stay away from me. Not that most of them needed warning. That photo of me, with a brick in my hand, seemed to be everywhere. At almost 6 in the evening, I was released. The female officer gave me back my clothes and took me to change before leaving. It turns out that the couple across the street has a Ring camera, and it clearly shows that your husband, not you, burned the things. He burned my things. Was he arrested? This is a civil matter. Fine. Then why was I arrested in the first place if this is a civil matter? She shrugged. You have a certain reputation, so a 24-hour arrest was reasonable. She stopped. Look, no one here thinks this is all easy for you. Nothing about this is fair, but we have limited options. You're facing a domestic violence charge, and it affects everything. Your lawyer should have explained this to you. She makes sure we follow the rules. I didn't answer. I didn't want to explain that I had never met my lawyer. Justin, of course, played a trick on me. No job, no clothes, no money. I was silently seething as we went to checkout. 10 minutes later, I stood alone on the sidewalk, holding a beautiful cherry bomb Louisville slugger bat. Ashley. I turned towards the voice. Along the sidewalk was my amazing car. An attractive petite woman with a cute short blonde haircut stood next to her, twirling her keys on her finger. I thought you might need this. I approached her. You must be my lawyer. She smiled, a little mechanically. I am a lawyer. but not exactly your lawyer. I'm here to keep my client out of trouble, but my client's interests coincide with yours. Does it make sense to ask who your client is?" She shrugged, then shook her head. "Not really. So can you give me some legal advice?" You can call me Amber. The usual legal advice would be, get in your car, go somewhere, rest, and stay out of trouble until trial. Get yourself a competent lawyer and try to make the best of the situation. But there's a very good chance things will work out much better for you if you ignore the usual advice and do what you really want now. I glanced at the message on my cell phone and raised an eyebrow at her. She simply smiled, a little more humanly, and tilted her head slightly. I reached out and took the keys from her. "Thanks for everything. It was nice. It's time for me to go. There are some things a lawyer shouldn't be involved in." I freshened up at the hotel and was not surprised that a very nice club outfit was already lying on my bed when I returned. Black wet leather mini dress with matching low heels for dancing. The dress fits like a glove. At exactly 9 o'clock, I drove straight to the club. The line to get in was incredibly long, but the bouncer smiled and pointed at me as I handed my car keys to the valet and waved me in. He chuckled slightly at the bat pressed against my hand, but didn't say a word. One of the women at the entrance seemed about to say something to the bouncer, but stopped when she noticed a bat, and then her face lit up with recognition. She smiled at me and then began frantically typing something on her phone. I walked through the doors, looking around the crowd. Justin was supposed to be here. This had to be the reason I'm here. The place was just starting to fill up, and it didn't take me long to find the bastard. He kept a group of women around him and did not see me until I came almost close. I hit the table with the bat. "Hey, bastard." He looked up in shock. I twirled the bat in my hand. "We need to talk." He jumped back, his chair overturning, and he jumped to his feet, backing away. "You can't be near me." I walked around the table, and the half-naked women ran away like cockroaches in the light. "Where's my grandma's money, you bastard?" He looked at one of the club's security guards. The huge, bald man nodded respectfully at me, turned, and began to walk away. I grinned. Justin looked past me at the entrance, but decided he had a better chance of going out the back door. He turned and ran, but before he reached the hallway to the toilets and the back exit, he suddenly stopped, sliding and falling on his butt. At first, I thought he had slipped on a spilled drink, but he jumped back to me, looking in horror at the tall woman standing in his way. She had auburn hair, a black miniskirt, and a black mesh shirt that didn't hide anything. Before I could understand what was happening, he screamed, "Damn," and rushed past me, running to the door. She stood there without blinking. I couldn't be sure because of the music, but I thought I heard a deep, hoarse voice purring, "Run, bastard, run." I looked back and saw her before running after him. She just stood there, leaning on her hip, with a predatory smile. The valet didn't even have time to park my car. He was standing outside, holding the keys in his hands. My phone vibrated with a message, and I stared at the address. House. The rental car was parked crookedly in the driveway. I assumed it was Justin's car. Of course, paid for with my money. I parked the Charger in front of the house, grabbed the bat, and headed inside. He was in the bedroom, frantically stuffing clothes into a suitcase and barely looking at me when I entered. "Hey, bastard." He looked up, shook his head once, and continued stuffing his clothes. I grabbed the bat and walked towards him, planning to get his attention in any way. And then she came in, and I froze. She was even taller than I thought. She was probably as tall as Justin, barefoot, but she was wearing 4-inch heels. She smiled at me, and a chill ran through me, a sensation running through my entire body. A tiger entered the room. "Missed me, Justin?" She turned her laser gaze on me. "Hi, Ashley." I stepped away from her and Justin. She radiated sex in waves that deafened the mind. Not into sex or fun casual sex. Pure, nasty, visceral, paint-stripping, dog-howling, can't look at the mirror sex. The one that leaves you sore for days and confused for months about what you were willing to do. Justin stared at her, paralyzed. He seemed to make a faint sound. She made a husky sound, maybe a laugh, maybe a growl. Since Justin seems to have forgotten his manners, I'll introduce myself. I'm Nicole, but you can call me Nikki. Everyone does it. I let Amber do things this week. But I just couldn't miss it, so I flew in this morning. I'm his ex. Justin and I were married. He's not very good at loyalty. He cheated on me too. I looked at her and then back at Justin in disbelief. Did you cheat on her? Damn it. I tried to understand what was wrong with me that made you change. You cheated. On her. I gestured helplessly. There's something seriously wrong with you. I took another half step back and shook my head to clear it of the avalanche of wildly obscene thoughts. She continued, I've become a much better person since this happened. I found the man of my dreams, dreams I didn't even know I had. I have a wonderful family, but it was very, very bad then, believe me. She stopped, her voice filled with anger and disgust. Poor little Nikki. 4 months after giving birth, severely depressed, almost on the verge of suicide, and this bastard not only has others, but also puts on a public show, completely humiliating me. Justin suddenly zipped up his suitcase and looked at the door. Nikki shook her head slowly. Nope. I promised my man I wouldn't hurt you, but I don't think Ashley made that promise. I'm sure she'll want to hear the rest. I grabbed the bat with both hands and stood between him and the door. Try, please. A girl after my own heart. Nikki sent me a slow wink that made me blush. We have a deal, Nikki. Justin suddenly found his voice. 400 miles. I stay 400 miles away, and you let go. Her smile seemed to almost reveal fangs. We really agreed. 400 miles. She showed her phone with a map. 399.8. She looked at me warmly. I had to stand right next to the city sign. For a second, I thought he was going to rush to the door. I swung the bat. Seriously, Justin, I dare. Nikki waited a second, then sighed. He won't do it. She shook her head, clearly wanting him to try. Anyway, during our crash, I found out that he and his last girlfriend were stealing money from his cousin's construction company. So in exchange for my silence, he agreed to move at least 400 miles. Justin gained a little courage. Almost 5 years have passed. This is a statute of limitations. Nikki laughed, soft and cruel. I'm sure so. But it was never about the law, was it, Justin? She turned her smoky eyes to me. His cousin has a long history of violence and no forgiveness, but he has a lot of torches and hammers. I saw the fear in Justin's eyes and decided to put pressure on him. I want my grandmother's money. Bastard. Even though I had a bat, he was much less afraid of me. Money is common property. At best, you will have to share it with me. Nikki nodded. This is true. She picked up the package. They were in the freezer. Idiot. Half would be about $75,000, right? I nodded. I hated the thought of him getting money, but right now I had nothing. But what you actually do with your half of the money is up to you, Justin. Personally, I think you can spend it on that. She picked up a piece of paper, then handed it to me. I looked at it. It was just a phone number. Nikki touched up her nails a little. This is your cousin's phone number, Justin. I bet Ashley would sell it to you for, well, $75,000. I felt a smile appear on my face. This will give me something to live on until I find a new job. Amber checked your contract and employee handbook. Don't worry about your job. You will only be fired if you are convicted of domestic violence, and it would be in Justin's best interests to go very far before that could happen. I grinned. I suspected it looked like Nikki's smile. And you'll have to stay 400 miles away from me too, just so I don't accidentally remember the number. Ooh, I like it. Symmetry. Nikki blew me a kiss that I could almost feel. Just a few minutes later, Justin was heading out, dejected. As soon as he left, Nikki called out to him. 400 miles from Ashley at all times, Justin. Oh damn, I forgot. Ashley is a flight attendant, isn't she? They change routes all the time, don't they? She could be almost anywhere. He stopped and looked at us in horror, knowing what that meant. I looked at him with the most innocent eyes. Run, bastard, run. He turned sharply and walked faster. I looked at Nikki. You obviously have the money to do what you want. Why games? You didn't need me for all this. She looked down at her nails for a second, then met my eyes. Maybe not needed, but you needed it, didn't you? I remember how it was, how helpless and lonely I felt, how hopeless everything seemed. I'm lucky. I met the right person at the right time. She shook her head in disbelief. With his help, I really found myself, no matter how stupid it may sound. But before that, she stared into the darkness for a moment. I saw your photo on the internet. I remembered how it was when he did this to me. I couldn't leave you like that. Amber leaned against my Charger as we got out to watch Justin get into his rental car and drive away. She looked at Nikki. This is all? No stab wounds? No shots? No serious beatings? No bitten faces? Nikki rolled her eyes and looked at me with mock despair. One time, just one time. Bite one face, and you are branded for life. Amber smiled and handed Nikki a black silk jacket. Try not to start a riot at the airport this time. This screening point may never recover. Nikki put on her jacket, then put her arm around Amber's shoulders as they walked toward the dark car next to mine. Come on, sweet cannon. We need to catch a flight and convince my husband that I've been good, or at least make him not worry. She paused, smiling, then dialed a number on her phone. We're done. Someone on the other end spoke for a moment, and she laughed, a sound like black velvet sliding across a naked body. Oh yeah, your baby has done bad things. She stopped and closed her eyes, shuddering as Amber held her up for a moment. Nikki seemed to sigh, opening her dark eyes. Her voice became sinful and hungry. God, yes, you really know what I love. You're a bastard. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.